I'm a bad motherfucker.
All right, so a lot of times doing this. Oh, I am Russell Dobular, filling in for Jimmy Dore on tour in Europe. So very often doing this, the way the article is written is part of the story because of its biases. Chomsky advised going all the way back to manufacturing consent, but he wasn't saying don't read the Times. There's a lot of information in the Times, but you have to understand what its framing and biases are. So this is an example of an article like that because on the one hand, the article is about how multi-generational homes are making a comeback, but by the end, it's very slanted in the direction of, and that's a good thing. Now, you could make an argument in terms of social isolation that it is a good thing, but I don't think that's why they're slanting it that way. I think they're slanting it that way to distract from the economic realities that are bringing back the multi-generational home. So this is Vox. Multi-generational housing is coming back in a big way. Americans used to live in multi-generational homes. We're starting to again. See right there. They're striking a pause. See, it's like back when people danced the Lindsay and went to the malt shop, right? According to the Pew Research Center, a quarter of all adults ages 25 to 34 now live in a multi-generational living situation, which it defines as a household with two or more adult generations. It's a number that's been creeping upwards since the early 70s, but has swung up precipitously in the last 15 years. I can't imagine why. Young adults in the U.S. are much more likely than 50 years ago to be living in a multi-generational household. The decennial U.S. Census measures multi-generational living slightly differently, 3 or more generations living together, but the trend still checks out. From 2010 to 2020, there was a nearly 18% increase in the number of multi-generational households. The research arm of the apartment listing and residence services company Rent Cafe went granular on Gen Z and found that 68% over the age of 18 still live with a parent or parents. As for millennials, 20% are back with mom and or dad or just never left. That's your people, Keaton.
Oh, Gen Z? I'm not Gen Z.
No. The millennials, 20%.
Oh, millennials. Oh, sorry.
20% of millennials. What's driving this? When Pew recently surveyed people living in multi-generational homes, more of them said financial issues drove the decision to move in with family than any other reason. You don't say, Sherlock. It's just amazing. Which, yes, total student loan debt has ticked down slightly in the past few years, but not by much. Meanwhile, inflation, you may have heard of her. Wow, I love that tone. And oh yeah, home affordability last fall was the lowest it had been since the 80s. I think it's a contemporary trend, whether it's to be able to save the money to buy a home, to be able to go back for a master's degree, or to be able to do something to further their ability as independent adults, said Donna Butts, queen of dumb takes. Amid skyrocketing costs and labor shortages in care work at either end of life have also pulled people into multi-generational housing. Get it? Because we don't actually have a meaningful safety net for the elderly. Those who are fortunate enough to have decent kids are moving back in with them. Nearly a third of people surveyed by Pew said caregiving, child, elder, or otherwise, was the primary reason they lived in a multi-generational situation. One more reason multi-generational housing is on the rise: America is getting less white. Hispanic and Asian people, especially if they are immigrants, are more likely to live with extended family. Black families are also traditionally more open to these arrangements. In many cultures around the world, multi-generational living, at least until marriage and often even after, is the norm, not the exception. Overall, a little more than a third of Americans say this trend is bad for society, per Pew's research. But white people are more likely to say it's bad news, 41%. I must say it's interesting because that suggests a majority don't. A majority actually think it's a good thing. I'm on that side of it, but I feel the reasons are problematic. Like, this isn't like all of a sudden people are choosing to have more cohesive family lives. They're being forced together by economics. Black people are 26% to say it's bad news. Hispanic, 28%. Asians, 23%. Men find it more objectionable than women. Older people are less on board. And Republicans are the least into this of any group measured. Now, that's kind of surprising, isn't it? Like the family values thing. You would think they'd be into the, families coming back together.
Yeah, but they're also the more bootstrap-oriented types, right? They probably feel a sense of shame about it.
Right, it's compromising your independence.
Right. Well, it just means you're not able to make it, right? You're not able to afford to live, on your own.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. If you just had a cultural shift where we were more like Asia, respecting our elders and deciding to have more cohesive family life, I'd be all for that. But when you look at the reason for this, it's not that simple. It's not a shift in cultural values. It's economics forcing people to live in a way that they probably don't want to. Mostly.
Yeah, and even the racial disparities and attitudes about this could be shaped by economics because white people skew richer.
Right.
And so it makes sense that, more white people would feel a sense of shame because they're used to being richer.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so like that is not necessarily born of a cultural preference. A lot of times economic conditions shape those kinds of attitudes.
Well, I think that's what I was thinking when I saw that blacks are traditionally more open to this kind of arrangement. Why do you think that is? Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Butts points out, though, that multi-generational living used to be pretty common before World War II and for decades before that, when people were poorer. It was after the war when people got in cars, got jobs in suburbs, and bought homes with more space for fewer people, nuclear families. By 1960, a new norm had entered the chat. The vast majority of adults were piecing out from mom and dads and not looking back. Quote, and we then said that was the way that people should live, that they should be independent, that we don't need each other, when in fact we do need each other, she said. That includes for things like caregiving, staving off loneliness, and helping out collectively with the bills. Pooling resources is also better for the climate, she said. I mean, that's where it starts to get very WEF. You will own nothing and be happy. We need to realize that it's not a matter of us going back. It's a matter of us going forward to something that is better and healthier for many families. That's where it gets creepy. Because it's obvious what the agenda is there. You want people to settle for less. You want people to get used to having less. You want to decarbonize the society, and you want the peasants to live in close quarters. Keaton?
Well, yeah, that's obviously it. And, they try to put a positive spin on it, which is not surprising, especially coming from an outlet like Vox, right? But yeah, no, that's absolutely it. I would imagine that this would have been accelerated greatly by the pandemic when things came to a grinding halt. It's also the fact that, if you are an elderly person and you have to, check into like a permanent care facility, any kind of nursing home, forget it. That cleans you out in a few years. They literally bankrupt you. I mean, those places are insanely expensive to the point where if it's at all possible to move in with your kids or get a split level situation going, it's no brainer in your economic interest to do that. The only people who can afford to retire with any kind of money in the bank who need to go into like a nursing home or something like that are people who are rich enough to the point where money is no object, because those places are so incredibly expensive. It just wipes you out within a few years tops.
Right.
And so that's also a main driver of this. Yeah, exactly. And
like
so that
hellholes.
drives us in a big way as well.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who, he was saying he didn't save any money for retirement, really. I said, why not? Because I've seen where that goes. You wind up in a nursing home and they take all your money.
They take it all anyway. Exactly. They take it all. It's completely sick.
So yeah, like psychologically, when you see a society that is so alienated, where people are so alone, yeah, like on the one hand, I actually do think it's good for families to come back together, but not for this reason. Not for this reason. And certainly I don't think the perspective of this article has that intention. I think it's very much, yes, peasants, it will be better. All live in one house.
Right,
why do you need so many houses? BlackRock needs those houses. You don't need those houses. Yeah. All right, Misha, to you.
Okay.
If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate shitty coffee? I, for one, really hate shitty coffee, which is why I'm excited to introduce to you a company that's revolting against shitty coffee, and it's called the 1775 Coffee Company. Now, I haven't had it yet because I only drink decaf. Steph has had it. Steph, how do you like it?
I really like it. You know what? I have a French press, and so I've been using my French press and totally enjoying it. It's delicious. It's smooth. It's smooth.
So 1775, the world awake. In 1775, the world awakened to a new era. And now it's 1775 Coffee Company is bringing you a coffee that embodies that revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, our beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee beans farms of Bolivia. Didn't know that. 1775 Coffee Company's farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality of authenticity and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize and appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single-sourced brew. 1775 Coffee Company takes pride in offering customers a truly exceptional coffee experience with their premium coffee collection. But their dedication to this revolution extends beyond the realm of taste. Safeguarding freedom of speech is critical right now, which is why 1775 Coffee Company has joined forces with Rumble in defense of one of our most fundamental rights, freedom of speech. Coffee that's sure to awaken all your senses, including the sense of freedom. So choose 1775 Coffee by going to 1775coffee.com/litter. That's LITTER, and use the code LITTER for 10% off the checkout on your first order. 1775 Coffee, brewed to perfection, crafted with revolution.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit